Hey, everybody, welcome to Scott's Guide for Surviving the Imperfect Life. I'm Scott Jones, and I'm glad you guys joined me today. I hope that some of this stuff will make sense to you or be useful to you as we move throughout the show. This is a show that I came up with because I work with a lot of people and I've done a lot of work on myself in the past. And one of the things that seems to trip everybody up is the idea that we're looking for perfection. We're looking for that perfect kind of balance between our home life and our work life and our life on the outside and how people see us. Imperfection is perfection. That's exactly what we're going to talk about today. It's about how do you survive when perfection doesn't exist? What exactly are we looking for? How do we do things if we can't be perfect? And it's something I struggled with for a long time. I wanted to put on the perfect persona. I always wanted to tell people I was fine, that I was doing good, that everything was okay. I always tried to be all together, and that didn't serve me well. It didn't work. It didn't work. I mean, I had a lot of blessings, a lot of great things in my life, a lot of good things happened in my life, but I've never been fulfilled because I always feel like I've fallen short instead of looking at what I really do have. And that's one of the things I want to share with everybody. So again, thanks for joining me. This is a show we're going to do is as often as we possibly can, or I could possibly can. Welcome to my home studio. This is part of me celebrating my imperfect life by having a studio in my house where I could play music and I could podcast and I could do all those things. I'm not an expert musician. I'm not somebody who's ever going to go out there and sell tickets on stage, but I am somebody who just loves music and loves sharing it with people. You know, think about it when we have little children and the little children come running into the room and he starts singing a song. I mean, rarely, unless your little baby is Justin Bieber or somebody who was born with the gift. You know, not that I'm a fan. Uh, they come running into the room and they start singing and belting out, and everyone in the room applauds, and they're not applauding because it's a great musicianship or because it's perfectly on key. They're applauding because it's joy. It's joyful. It's them sharing emotion with us. It's doing all of that. And I think that's so important. I think it's so important that we do that. And we kind of left that behind when we become adults. And it's like we don't celebrate people's intention. We don't celebrate the joy. We don't celebrate people's feelings and emotions and the attitude that they bring forward. We celebrate in terms of wins and losses, and in terms of how much money you make, and in terms of what car you drive. Um, and I think we all end up falling short, and we all end up feeling a little bad. And that's what I'm trying to do here. I'm trying to find that solution. How do we survive a life that's imperfect, that we're not going to get everything we want, that we're not going to have all the things that we think we should have, but how do we just love the things that we do have and celebrate those things? How do we open up and share with everybody that I'm not perfect and make that okay? So that's what this show is all about. And I encourage you guys, I encourage your comments and everything else. I know I've got a bunch of people out there watching, and I appreciate you guys for showing up. I think it's so important. If you have any comments or anything, I'll try to pick up on them as quickly as I can. What I want to talk about in this first show is a very simple solution for improving your life. This is something that I've had to adopt that has worked well for me, that has actually improved my life tenfold. It really has. And it's about being kind. It's about kindness. In spite of what's going on with me, and in spite of what's going on around me, or the business, or relationships, or whatever's going on, I have the capacity to be kind to other people. And that's not just about me sharing something with them and trying to look like the good guy, because if that's my purpose behind it, then I've already lost because it's not genuine. But if my purpose is simply just to give what I have in any way I can, then I definitely want to do that. So there's a lot of things. The first thing, and there's a bunch of reasons about how kindness works, and that's what we're going to focus on today. Everyone is fighting their own battle. We don't know what their battle is. If there's somebody who's saying they're not fighting their demons or fighting their battles, they're not actually out there living, because everybody's got something. So Everyone is fighting their own battles. We don't know what somebody's going through. So lending them a kindness. Now, a kindness isn't giving them money, although, I mean, certainly it could be in certain cases. A kindness is a look or a smile. A kindness is a word. A kindness is paying attention. A kindness is being present for them. That's a kindness. And lending them that, no matter what they're going through, it allows them to feel that there's somebody else there with them. And that could change a life right there. And when we do that, when we see people respond to a kindness that we give, it elevates us as well, no matter what's going on, no matter how imperfect everything is. We feel that. We feel that jazz, that kind of boost. It's dare I say it's almost like a high when you do something kind for somebody else. You're not expecting anything back, but there is a warmth that you do get. But again, number one and first and foremost, no matter if somebody's looking and they're looking like they're in a bad mood or they're looking like they're having a bad day or something like that, we don't know what they're going through. And maybe all they need is a simple kindness. How many times have you been going through your day and maybe you've just been in a bad mood and something happens or somebody says something, and it might be directly to you or it might be around you, and all of a sudden you just feel better, and we can lend that to other people. We can give that to other people. So let's think that no matter what mood or what position that person's in, they have their own battles. They don't need us adding weapons to their battles. What they need us is adding a moment of peace to that battle, adding in a moment of kindness. People always remember you for how you make them feel. People will never remember you for what you did. They'll remember you for how they felt about what you did, how they felt about your presence. Think about it. We've all got that one friend that when they show up, everybody's like, yay, Bob's here. And they get excited about it. Why? Because Bob makes everybody feel good because he's kind to them and he's decent. And that's a way of elevating ourselves as well. Certainly we're projecting out and we're creating a persona for ourselves, but we're doing it the right way. We're doing it through actual genuine kindness. And people will remember that. People will remember who was nice to them in their lives, who was supportive, who just took a moment to listen. Those are all things that elevate us. And in spite of all the other things going on, just being elevated, just that little bit could mean the world to everybody. So let's move on from there. I apologize. Being mean to somebody solves nothing. I can't remember any time in my life, and trust me, I spent part of my life being a mean person. I went through my addiction time. I went through my alcoholism. I went through a lot of problems with being a violent and an angry person. And every time I was mean, there was never a time when I walked away from it and I said, that worked out well, or that served me well, or that was a good idea. Every time I've worked away with sadness and regret, with shame and guilt. Being mean never, ever is a winning proposition for anybody. It's not. We have come into this false belief that if we are mean or tougher than the next person, or if we can intimidate or have others fear us, that is a form of respect that we get from people. Respect and fear are not the same thing. They absolutely are not. Respect is freely given as somebody who wants to be a respectful person, paying it forward and being kind to the next person. That's respect. Fear is a whole different animal, and nobody is strong because of fear. They're not. You have strength in being kind. It takes nothing to be mean to another human being. It takes no creativity to call somebody a name or to call somebody out on their shortcomings or to laugh at somebody's mistakes. It takes no creativity to do that. But sometimes it takes a little creativity to come up and connect with another human being and be kind to them. Maybe take a moment out of their imperfect life and give them that perfect moment out of that life where they have somebody who just connects. Being mean never works. There's already too much hate and anger in this world, people. You turn on the news. Turn on the news. I mean, not now. Please finish the show. Then go turn on the news and watch. And all the lead stories aren't about people and puppy dogs and rainbows and kittens and love. The lead stories are about death and destruction and hatred. The hate groups get more publicity than groups that are out there trying to feed homeless people. Hate groups get more publicity in our news. Why? Because we feed on it. We almost revel in it. I don't know if maybe it's because if I look at the level of hate out there and I say I don't add up to that level, it makes me feel better about myself. I don't know why it is. I don't know the psychology behind it. I don't have to know. What I do know is there's too much of it, and I don't need to add to that. You know, Gandhi once said, "It'll be the change you want to see in the world. Be the change you want to see in the world." It's not about sitting around and waiting for the rest of the world to become peaceful. It's about you becoming peaceful, you becoming kind, and spreading that to your friends, your family, your neighbors, to everyone, to strangers. You know, I I'm not saying you got to walk up and just hug people on the street. Actually, don't do that. You can get arrested for that. But you can lend a kind word. You can smile once in a while. You know, you could wave at people. And by the way, when you wave, it's all 5 fingers, not just one. It's about being kind. You know, there's too much in the world if we really want to add to it. Karen Hurley's on, Sandy's on, Yvonne is on. Um, Jennifer says, giving others your energy at the highest frequency. Absolutely. Share your energy with others. It's always a positive thing. That's why I like to share music and things like that. Like I said, I'm not a musician. I'm not a great musician. I like playing and I like singing and I like doing that, but it's about sharing my energy. And hopefully somebody picks up on it. I'm not looking for a record contract. It would be nice, but I'm not looking for one. I'm looking to just spread my energy and everything else. I want to thank everybody. Oh, Judy has joined us. And she says, try daily random acts of kindness. It definitely makes you feel good. Judy, I could not agree more. It's about when you give, you get more in return. Certainly not what you're looking for. I mean, I could give somebody something and expect something in return. But if I stop expecting things, I actually get so much in return. I get it from myself. From that feeling of, well done, Scott. That was the right thing to do. That was a kind act. It was a right thing to do. Sandy, cat's out of the bag. It's my mom. It's Sandy. She says, be the person who people want to interact with. Of course, that's what I said. People will always remember how you make them feel. If you go in and you make people feel like crap, your circle of friends is going to become so much smaller than if you're the person who comes in. I'm not saying you got to be Susie Cream Cheese every minute of every day, but when you can, and most of us can do it much more often than we do. When you can, be kind. Be kind. Be light. Be light of heart and share that with people. There's some other points I wanted to get to that you could change somebody's day with a kind word. I want everybody to think about that. Have you ever been in a mood and somebody said something to you that was kind? You might not even been in a bad mood, just kind of flat. And then somebody said something kind to you, like, I love your hair, or I love your jacket, or you're really funny, or something. And it just made your day. And as a matter of fact, you can almost carry that for more than a day, maybe a week, maybe a month, maybe longer. Maybe you still have moments where somebody said something or did something kind for you that is stuck with you. And it wasn't like a earth-shattering kindness. It was a simple kindness. And that's exactly what I'm talking about. You could change somebody's day with a simple kindness. You could also change somebody's day with one mean word, or even worse than being mean, with totally ignoring them, discounting their existence. Because when somebody's feeling bad about themselves, when you walk past them without even looking them in the eye, you not only are ignoring them, you're discounting their very existence. They don't matter. And you don't think people internalize that? I'm sure we've all had that feeling. I'm sure we've had other feeling. And if you can't think back when you're a kid, because there's always been those moments when kids felt like they were excluded somehow, either from kids who were playing or their parents were doing something they're not allowed because they're a child, and they just felt so excluded and so like they don't matter. And we do that to people every day. Every day. I want you to think about going through the checkout counter at the supermarket. Now, picture this. It's an imperfect world. The person who's checking you out, let's say It could be a male, it could be a female. We're just going to say, just for now, it's a female. Her name is Barb, and she's got 3 kids at home, and she's going through a divorce. And her job is to check out food for you, and she's making $8 an hour. And she's got to go home and figure out how to feed 3 kids on that $8 an hour, and how to pay rent and take care of business. And she's checking out food for you. She is running your chicken and your steak and your lobster tails and whatever else you got, and looking at all that and thinking, I can't even buy one of these things for my family. Now, I want you to think about the stress and how hard that is for a human being to suffer that, almost an indignity, or at least that they feel that it's so hard for them to struggle through every moment. And what do? We run all of our food up there, we shove it onto the conveyor belt, and then we turn and we pick up our cell phones and we start texting or talking to someone else, and completely ignoring the existence of the person who's standing right in front of you, who deserves at least a moment of your kindness, deserves at least a nice word. When's the last time you said, how was your day, to somebody who's doing that for you? They're doing you a service. Yes, it's a job. Yes. I mean, you can go on and on. That's their job to do that. And I buy the food, which pays them. And you could do all of that bullshit. At the end of the day, it's bullshit, because what it is you got another human being standing in front of you, and you don't take the opportunity. You don't take the opportunity to embrace that moment. You don't know what can happen. Maybe you say something kind, or you just give them your attention for 2 minutes. And maybe they're going to say something that's going to change you. Maybe they're going to share something that's going to make you see something different. Maybe you're going to grow from that exchange. Every time that you put yourself out there and you do a kindness for another human being, and again, it doesn't take much. It's a smile, it's a look, it's a word. Every time you do that, you grow. You grow. Same thing in restaurants when a waiter brings you your food. Wherever you are. When you go through any kind of checkout line, or you go through any kind of service, restaurant, or anywhere you go, at the bank, hey, how about at the DMV? There's a place where nobody wants to talk to anybody. And I guarantee you, the last thing anybody's done is gone in there and just said something kind and made them smile. Well, maybe we should start doing that, because that's how change starts. That's how the imperfections in our world becomes the greatest little things. And all of our little quirks and all of our little things come out, and we get to connect with other human beings. And it is fantastic. But it starts with you. It starts with you. It starts with me. It starts with kindness. And we grow from that. Nobody's better than anybody else. Nobody's better than anybody else. There's a lot of people that think they're better. There's a lot of people that think they're better. We got a few that comments I want to get to real quick. Yvonne is telling us she's never on her phone when she gets to the checkout. She always makes sure to be nice to them. Also the servers. Absolutely. And it elevates us as human beings to do that for others. Judy is sharing that we need to thank them for so much more. They're essential workers. They are. Do you realize the supermarket stayed open during the pandemic while people were getting sick and dying? And I know there's still some issues going on now, but they had to stay open because it's essential that we had food. They were essential workers. Now, we might recognize the fire department and police department, and I'm going to get to them in a minute because I think there's some important things we need to know about that. But these guys were essential workers. Did we thank them? No. Why? Because they're menial labor to us. They make minimum wage. Sometimes they're kids, and sometimes they're a little bit older, whatever they might be. But we think that it's just like they're a piece of the furniture in the store. They're not. And we do ourselves a disservice every time we ignore that. Every time that we miss that opportunity for kindness, we miss that opportunity to grow ourselves. Okay. Jennifer says, that's true. Even when they say, even when they're pretty rude themselves, there's times when you're right. Jay's making a point. She's saying sometimes we might come across service people or somebody in our lives, could be anybody, who's pretty rude at the moment. That goes back to number one that I talked about. We don't know what they're going through. I'm buying my groceries from somebody who might not be able to get groceries, or somebody who might be facing a tragedy. Yeah. I work with people in addiction, and I work with one of my best friends in the world, Karen Hurley, and we with Addiction Training Center and Live Out Loud Productions and Gary Wayne and Dr. Donna Marks and all these great people I work with on a daily basis, and we work in an industry where people die all the time in addiction, and we don't know what people are going through. We don't know who's lost somebody. We don't know what's going on. So if somebody is in a deep dark place, if there's somebody is seems like they're suffering a little bit, that's the time when they need love. It's easy to love people who are being lovable. It takes a little more work to love people who are not being lovable, but those are the ones that need love the most, or at least a simple kindness. you know Judy also says smiles are contagious. Start with that. Yeah, absolutely. Smiles and laughter are completely contagious. Completely. It always makes you feel good to be kind. It shows strength. It shows strength. I have to admit, I grew up in a culture where karate chopping somebody or beating up 20 guys in a bar or having the most tattoos or the most muscles or anything like that made you tougher and made you and I fell into that for a while. And I was never the big muscle guy or anything like that, but I also had that kind of mindset that I want everybody wanted to be Chuck Norris, and because we saw that as strength. And I'm not saying anything mean about Chuck Norris. I don't know him. He could be a really nice guy, but I start now I see the strength in the simple kindnesses I see that are happening everywhere. We had the tragedy just recently. We had the tragedy down at the down in Miami with the condo collapsing on Surfside, and a lot of lives were lost. And almost immediately they were flooded with people who just wanted to help, people who just wanted to supply the first responders with water, with food. It got to the point where there was so much coming in, they couldn't even take it all. And I believe some of it went to some shelters and some other places, but it was just that impresses me. That is strength. Not the people who want to see things crash and burn, who thinks it's fun to watch a building come down, but the people who are there when it does to help anybody they can. That's strength. That's kindness. It's a simple concept. It's a four-letter word. It's one of the better four-letter words out there. Kind, kind. Be kind. It's strength. And it makes our imperfect world so much better. And actually, when you're kind, these imperfections that we have and all these other things, just really, they become our strength. They become our story. And our story is something we share with other people. And it elevates us. I want everybody to just go out there. And I think, I don't know if it was Yvonne or Judy said, just go out and practice a random act of kindness. It doesn't have to be big. As a matter of fact, just do it on your way to work tomorrow. You see somebody in the car next to you, smile and wave. Say good morning. It's a lost art. People don't do it anymore. They walk past people and they just kind of just look down and they're looking at their phones or they're doing something. I've got a girl who walks her dog in the neighborhood. She's been walking this dog in the neighborhood, and I see her probably 4 times a week for the last 6 years. And never once have I seen her face, because every time she walks by, her hair's over her face as she's looking down at her phone, walking the dog, and it has never failed. I have no idea what her face looks like. I know what her hair looks like. I know what the dog looks like. I have no idea what the face, because she doesn't look up to see what's around her. How much are we missing? I love technology. I love my phone. I love playing games. I love podcasting. I love all of it. But it doesn't take the place of interaction. It doesn't. Um, Kindness is a language everybody can understand. If you got a language barrier with somebody, smile. And in South Florida, there are a lot of times when I come across things where I don't speak Spanish, and I don't speak other languages. I get away with just a few words here and there and figure a few things out. But it's really about your eyes and when you smile and a genuine smile, that you can connect with another person who doesn't even speak your language. Talk about making the world a better place. We don't even have to talk sometimes. Sometimes it's just that contact. You'll never regret being kind. Like I said, there's many times I've regretted being mean. There's many times I regretted what I said. And there's many times that I've actually gone into a situation and knew I was going to say something wrong and almost regretted it before I did it. but I have never regretted being kind, even when the kindness was not repaid. Because it's not up to them to repay the kindness. That comes from within me. That comes from within me, that I know that I did the right thing, that I know I did something decent, and that makes me feel good about myself. It's really hard to be down on yourself when you're doing things for others. You still got to take care of yourself. Listen, I still want you to build a life. I still want you to go out there and work hard and succeed at your job. If you can make money and buy cars and do that stuff, that's fantastic. But don't forget about what it's really all about. It's about connecting. It's about connecting with others. And kindness is the way to do that. Stop looking for the perfect relationship. Stop looking for the perfect story that you can tell. Stop looking for perfection and start embracing the imperfections and just be kind and have some fun. Go learn to play an instrument, celebrate life. That's what we're talking about here. And that is part 1 of Scott's Guide to Surviving an Imperfect Life. That's what we're talking about. I'm going to be bringing this to you probably twice a week, for a while. We're going to see how this goes. I invite your comments. I invite you. Now, this is being sponsored by ATC, Addiction Training Center, and Live Out Loud Podcast, or Live Out Loud Productions, which brings us Live Out Loud Podcast and a bunch of other podcasts that we have. This is all about helping people as well. ATC, just for a quick commercial announcement, Addiction Training Center is about helping people who are suffering from addictions, and more importantly, training people so that they can deal with addictions in their communities, in their workplaces, in any other areas of their lives. If you'd like to know more, if you know somebody who needs some help, or if you just want to get involved and start helping others, there's no better way to live your life other than helping others. I'm telling you. Check us out. You can go to atceducation.com, or you can call Karen at 786-514-0893 if you would like to get involved and help other people. And if you'd like to know more about my podcast, you can hit me up at Live Out Loud Productions on Facebook, or ATC, Addiction Training Center, on Facebook. And you can hit me up right there, and we can talk more about the show if there's something that you would like me to talk about, or something you think we should add to the show to make it a little more interesting. But again, this is my first one. I want to thank everybody for joining me. You guys are all pretty awesome out there. And remember to be kind. Now, I want to end the show with a word about first responders. In the last 3 years, police officers, all first responders, you don't just attack police. It affects all first responders. When something goes wrong and the whole world turns against them, it's an imperfect situation. We have people out there doing an impossible job, and sometimes an individual might do it poorly. Sometimes things happen that's just not acceptable. I'm not saying it's ever acceptable for some of the things that happen to happen, but I'm saying that's not all of them, and that's not even the majority of them. These people still go out there and try to protect us, whether it's police, fire, EMTs, paramedics, doctors, nurses, our military. All of these people are essentially our first line of defense against the biggest enemy we have, which is ourselves. If we all practice a little more kindness, then a lot of these jobs would be much easier on all of them. But we don't at this point, so they work hard. So make sure that you thank them for their service. Make sure that you acknowledge, because if you want to put those people down who are doing that job on that front line, I suggest you go to school, you pick up the information you need, and you go do the job for them then. But we don't want to. We want them doing it. So we need to be grateful to that. We need to be kind about that and thank them for their service. Beyond that, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. I'm Scott Jones, and we will catch you next time right here on Scott's Guide to Surviving an Imperfect Life.